You know that feeling when you discover something incredible in your own backyard that you had no idea existed? Well, imagine that times 1,000. Today we're exploring 10 hidden places so secret, so unexpected, that even the people who live nearby have no clue they're there. These aren't your typical tourist traps. These are the real deal, the hidden gems that make you wonder what else you've been walking past your entire life. And hey, if you love discovering the world's best-kept secrets, smash that subscribe button right now because we're just getting started. Let's kick things off with something that sounds like pure fiction. Deep beneath the streets of Rome, there's an entire ancient apartment complex that was only discovered in 2002. We're talking about a 4-story Roman insula, basically an ancient apartment building, this sitting 40 feet underground. Here's the wild part. People had been walking over this thing for literally 2,000 years. Locals would pass by this random construction site every single day, and nobody had a clue that beneath their feet was a perfectly preserved piece of ancient Rome, complete with frescoes, mosaics, and even the original plumbing system. The building dates back to the 2nd century and gives us an incredibly rare glimpse into how regular Romans actually lived, not the emperors or the wealthy, but everyday people. Most Romans today still don't know this place exists because it's not exactly advertised. You have to specifically seek it out, and even then, it's only open for limited tours. The apartments show everything from the kitchen areas to the sleeping quarters. No, and you can still see the decorations these families chose for their walls. Think about that. Their interior design choices preserved for 2 millennia, hidden right under one of the world's most visited cities. The discovery happened during routine construction work, and archaeologists almost lost their minds when they realized what they'd found. It completely changed what we knew about Roman urban housing. But here's what really gets me. How many more of these places are just waiting beneath our feet, hiding in plain sight? Moving from underground Rome to underground Paris. Everyone knows about the Paris catacombs, right? The famous bone-filled tunnels that tourists line up to see. But what most Parisians don't know is that there's an entire secret cinema hidden in the restricted part of the catacombs that police discovered in 2004. We're not talking about some makeshift setup. This was a fully equipped movie theater carved into an illegal cavern, complete with a massive screen, professional sound equipment, a bar stocked with liquor, and even restaurant facilities. The chairs were carved right into the rock. There was a working phone line installed. Someone had run electricity down there. This wasn't some weekend project. This took serious planning, serious resources, and serious dedication. When police found it, they were investigating reports of illegal activity in the restricted zones. They came back a few days later to investigate further, and everything was gone, completely cleaned out. All that remained was a note on the ground that said, "Do not try to find us." To this day, nobody knows who built it or how they managed to remove all that equipment without being detected. The catacombs have over 200 miles of tunnels, and only a tiny fraction is open to the public. Urban explorers called cataphiles have been navigating the illegal sections for decades, and they maintain a code of secrecy about what's down there. This cinema is just one example of an entire underground culture that exists beneath Paris, completely unknown to the people having coffee at sidewalk cafes 20 feet above. There are rumored to be entire underground galleries, concert halls, and living spaces down there. The French police have a dedicated team just to patrol the catacombs, but even they admit they can't monitor everything. It's a hidden world in the truest sense. And now let's talk about something hiding in plain sight in New York City. On the 33rd floor of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, there's a secret train platform that was built exclusively for President Franklin Roosevelt. Most New Yorkers, even those who've lived in Manhattan their whole lives, have no idea this exists. It's called Track 61, and it connects directly from Grand Central Terminal to a private elevator that goes straight up into the hotel. The platform is massive, big enough to fit an entire armored train car, which is exactly what they used to bring Roosevelt's custom Pullman car down there. The president had polio and used a wheelchair, but the public rarely saw this because of the political climate at the time. This secret platform allowed him to arrive in New York completely unseen. He's traveling from the train directly into his hotel suite without ever being exposed to public view or potential security threats. The wild part? The train car is allegedly still down there. Roosevelt's actual bulletproof Pierce Arrow limousine is supposedly still sitting on that platform, gathering dust in the darkness beneath one of the world's busiest hotels. The platform hasn't been used since the 50s, and access is strictly forbidden. Urban explorers have tried for years to get down there, but security is incredibly tight. Hotel staff will deny it exists if you ask them. Government officials won't comment on it. But documentation, photographs, and eyewitness accounts from workers confirm it's absolutely real. Imagine the history soaked into that space. A president's secret entrance, used during some of the most critical moments in American history, just sitting there in the dark, forgotten by almost everyone walking the streets above. Let's go from New York to London, where there's an entire abandoned tube station that's been frozen in time since 1994. Down Street Station closed to the public in 1932, but what locals don't know is that it served as a secret underground headquarters for Winston Churchill and the War Cabinet during World War II. While London was being bombed, Churchill and his staff would work from this hidden command center, making decisions that shaped the entire war. The station still has the original tiles, the old advertisements from the 1930s, and the rooms where Churchill and his cabinet would meet, all preserved exactly as they were. For decades after the war, and this place was completely sealed off and forgotten. Transport for London didn't even include it on most official maps of disused stations. It wasn't until the late 2000s that they started offering extremely limited tours, and even now, most Londoners have never heard of it. You can still see the reinforced rooms where they installed beds for Churchill and his staff, the communication equipment they used, and the makeshift facilities they created for long nights underground. The station is located in the heart of Mayfair, one of London's most exclusive neighborhoods. Thousands of people walk over it every single day, shopping at luxury stores, dining at expensive restaurants, completely unaware that beneath their feet is a piece of history that helped save the free world. The tours sell out months in advance when they're offered, just which is rare. Most of the time, it just sits there in the darkness, a secret headquarters hiding under one of the world's busiest cities. The preservation is so complete that you feel like you've stepped directly into the 1940s. It's not a museum recreation. It's the actual place, untouched, waiting in the dark. From London, we're heading to the American Southwest, where there's a massive underground garden growing beneath the streets of Kansas City. Most people in Kansas City, even those who've lived there for generations, have no idea that beneath their city lies one of the world's largest underground storage facilities, a 5 million square foot complex carved into old limestone mines. But here's the kicker. Part of this facility has been converted into a fully functioning underground farm where they're growing food using LED technology, completely independent of sunlight. This isn't some small experimental plot. We're talking about acre upon acre of crops growing 70 feet below the surface. The temperature down there stays perfect year-round, between 60 and 65 degrees, because it's naturally insulated by millions of tons of rock. No weather to worry about. No pests, no seasons. Just constant controlled growing conditions. The same facility also stores everything from government documents to Hollywood film archives to massive amounts of cheese for the federal government's strategic reserves. Yes, you heard that right. There's a strategic cheese cave under Kansas City. But the farm is what really blows people's minds. They're producing millions of pounds of leafy greens every year down there, and most locals have never heard a word about it. The entrance is just a nondescript building in an industrial area. You'd drive right past it without a second glance, but inside, it's like entering another world. The mine itself was created decades ago during limestone quarrying operations, and over the years, different companies have found creative uses for all that space. The farm is one of the most innovative. They're experimenting with the future of food production, proving that we can grow crops anywhere, even in places where the sun literally never shines. And it's all happening in secret, hidden beneath a Midwestern city. Next up, let's talk about what's hiding in the Sahara Desert. In the middle of one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, here there's a massive library containing thousands of ancient manuscripts, and most of the world has no idea it exists. The town is called Chinguetti in Mauritania, and it's so remote that even people in neighboring African countries don't know about it. This place was once a major center of Islamic learning, a trading post on trans-Saharan caravan routes. Families in Chinguetti have been guarding private collections of manuscripts for centuries, some dating back to the 9th century. We're talking about original texts on astronomy, mathematics, poetry, law, and religion, hand-copied and illuminated by scholars 1,000 years ago. These aren't in some big official museum. They're in people's homes, stored in wooden chests, protected by families who've made it their mission for generations. The town itself is being slowly swallowed by the desert. Sand dunes push up against the ancient stone buildings. The population has dwindled, yet these families remain, guarding their literary treasures. Most tourists who make it to Mauritania never make it to Chinguetti because it's incredibly difficult to reach. You need 4-wheel-drive vehicles, local guides, and several days of travel through legitimate desert. There's no easy way in. But if you do make it, and if you gain the trust of the local families, they might show you manuscripts that scholars thought were lost forever. The colors in the illuminations are still vibrant after a millennium. The Arabic calligraphy is breathtaking. And it's all just sitting there in a tiny desert town, one of the greatest hidden libraries on Earth, but is known only to a handful of locals and the few adventurous researchers who make the journey. Let's shift to something completely different, hiding in plain sight in Japan. In the mountains of Gifu Prefecture, there's a village where houses have roofs so thick they look like they're straight out of a fairy tale. This is Shirakawa-go, and while some tourists do visit, the vast majority of Japanese people have never been there, and many don't even know it exists. The houses are built in a style called Gassho Zukuri, which means constructed like praying hands. The roofs are made entirely of thick thatch, no nails, designed to withstand massive snow loads from some of the heaviest snowfall in the world. Some of these houses are over 250 years old, and people still live in them. And this isn't a museum village or a historical recreation. These are functioning homes, passed down through families for centuries. The wild part is how isolated this place was until very recently. The villages in this region were completely cut off from the rest of Japan for much of the winter, sometimes for months at a time. They developed their own unique culture, their own dialects, their own way of doing everything. Inside the massive attics of these houses, they used to cultivate silkworms, an industry that sustained them for generations. The attics are like cathedrals, massive open spaces under those incredible roofs. Even today, the villages maintain the traditional lifestyle to a remarkable degree. Farmers still work the rice paddies using traditional methods. The community comes together several times a year to rethatch the roofs, a massive undertaking that requires dozens of people working together. When you visit, you feel like you've traveled back in time. The landscape looks exactly as it did centuries ago. And yet this place exists in modern Japan, hidden in the mountains, largely unknown even to Japanese city dwellers. Now we're going to Australia, where there's a town that exists entirely underground. Coober Pedy is in the middle of the South Australian outback, and it's one of the strangest places on Earth. More than half the population lives underground in homes called dugouts, carved directly into the rock. We're not talking about basements. We're talking about full houses, complete with living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, all of it underground. There are underground churches, underground hotels, underground shops, even an underground museum. The reason is simple. The temperature above ground regularly exceeds 50 degrees Celsius in summer, which is around 120 Fahrenheit. Underground, it stays a comfortable 22 to 24 degrees year-round without any heating or cooling needed. The town exists because of opals. Coober Pedy produces most of the world's opals, and miners have been digging here since 1915. As they dug for opals, they realized the mine shafts made better homes than anything they could build on the surface, so they just moved in. Today, you can visit underground homes that look completely normal once you're inside, fully furnished, decorated, comfortable, except there are no windows, and you entered through what looks like a mine shaft. Many Australians, especially those on the coast, have never heard of this place. It's so remote, so unusual, that it exists almost in its own bubble. The landscape around it looks like Mars, just flat red dirt and rocky hills dotted with thousands of mining holes. Signs everywhere warn you to watch where you walk because you might literally fall into an abandoned mine shaft. At night, the residents emerge like some kind of underground civilization. It's bizarre and fascinating. A hidden town where people have adapted to one of the harshest environments on Earth by simply going underground. Let's head to Scotland now, where there's a beach that appears and disappears. On the Orkney Islands, there's a bay where a beautiful white sand beach vanished completely in 1984 during a storm. For over 30 years, there was just rock and seaweed where the beach used to be. Locals mourned the loss. Then, in 2017, after another major storm, the beach came back overnight, just reappeared, hundreds of tons of white sand like it had never left. Scientists believe the sand gets pulled out to sea and deposited in underwater banks. Then storms bring it back under the right conditions. But here's the thing. Most people in Scotland, even those who know the Orkney Islands, don't know about this beach or its disappearing act. The Orkneys are remote, sitting off the northern tip of Scotland, and they don't get the tourist attention that places like the Highlands do. The locals have their own culture, their own way of speaking, and they like it that way. The beach in question is near a village with barely 100 residents. When the beach returned, it was international news for about a day. Then everyone forgot about it again. But imagine being one of those locals spending 30 years looking at rocky shoreline where you used to play as a child, then waking up one morning to find the beach has returned. The sand is pristine, white, almost tropical looking, completely incongruous with the rugged Scottish landscape around it. The beach could disappear again at any time, or it might stay for decades. Nobody knows. It's one of nature's hidden tricks, playing out in a place so remote that most of the world will never see it. But it's there, appearing and disappearing according to rules we don't fully understand, known only to a handful of islanders and the seabirds. Finally, let's end with something that sounds impossible. In Romania, there's an underground theme park built inside a salt mine. Salina Turda is a salt mine that dates back to the Middle Ages, and it's been transformed into one of the most surreal places you'll ever see. We're talking about a Ferris wheel, a mini golf course, an amphitheater, a sports arena, and a lake with paddle boats, all inside a massive cavern underground. The main chamber is so big you can barely see the ceiling. The walls are solid salt, and they glitter in the artificial light like something from a fantasy movie. The air down there is supposed to have therapeutic properties because of the salt content, so people go there for health reasons too. But mostly, it's just mind-blowing to see. You descend into this ancient mine expecting a historical site, and instead, you find a full-blown entertainment complex carved into the earth. Most Romanians, especially those from other parts of the country, have no idea this place exists. Which Salina Turda is in Transylvania, which everyone associates with Dracula. But this place is way cooler than any vampire castle. The mine stopped operating in 1932, and for decades it was just abandoned. Then, in the early 2000s, someone had the wild idea to turn it into a tourist attraction. They leaned into the strangeness of it, installing all these modern recreational facilities in this ancient space. The contrast is jarring and amazing. You're surrounded by walls that are millions of years old, but you're riding a Ferris wheel or playing mini golf. It's hidden in the sense that despite being an incredible feat of creative reuse, most of the world has never heard of it. It doesn't make the typical travel lists, but it's there, deep under Romanian soil, a theme park in a place where medieval workers once extracted salt by candlelight, now lit up and filled with the sounds of people having fun in one of the most unlikely places imaginable. So there you have it, 10 incredible places that exist right now, hiding in plain sight, unknown even to the people who live nearby. From underground apartments in Rome to disappearing beaches in Scotland, from secret train platforms under New York to theme parks in salt mines, our world is full of surprises, just waiting to be discovered. Makes you wonder what's hiding near you, doesn't it? What incredible secret is just around the corner, beneath your feet, or beyond that ordinary-looking door you pass every day? If you loved this journey into the hidden corners of our world, I make sure you're subscribed because we're always uncovering more amazing places that the world has forgotten or never knew existed in the first place. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Before you go, let's take a moment to really think about what these places mean. Throughout human history, we've been building, discovering, and hiding things. Some intentionally, some by accident. But what strikes me most about these 10 locations is that they represent different versions of the same story. A story about how our world is so much bigger and stranger than we realize, even in places we think we know everything about. Think about it. You could live in Rome your entire life, walk those streets every single day, eat at the same restaurants, visit the same landmarks, and never know that an entire 4-story apartment building is sitting 40 feet beneath your shoes. That's humbling. It makes you realize how much of the world operates completely invisible to us. We get so caught up in our daily routines, our usual paths, the familiar places we visit, that we become blind to the extraordinary things happening literally beneath our noses. The same applies to Paris. While thousands of tourists line up to see the famous catacombs every single day, an entire underground society is operating in the restricted zones. People are creating art, building cinema halls, carving galleries, all while the surface world has no idea what's happening below. It's like there's a parallel civilization running underneath the city, and most Parisians are completely unaware. This pattern repeats everywhere. The New York business executives walking through the Waldorf Astoria have no idea about Track 61. The London shoppers in Mayfair are oblivious to Winston Churchill's secret headquarters buried beneath their feet. The Kansas City residents have no clue that one of the world's most ambitious underground farming operations is happening beneath their city. These aren't just hidden places. They're hidden worlds with their own stories, their own purposes, their own reasons for existing in secrecy. What really fascinates me is how some of these places have been forgotten intentionally. The Down Street station in London was deliberately sealed off and erased from most official records. The Paris Catacomb Cinema was built and then abandoned, with nothing but a mysterious note left behind. But Track 61, under the Waldorf Astoria, sits in darkness because the people who knew about it are mostly gone now. Institutional memory can fade, files can be misplaced, maps can be outdated, and suddenly a place that was once crucial to national security or served as a secret command center during wartime just becomes forgotten history. Other places, like Chinguetti in Mauritania or Shirakawa Go in Japan, are hidden simply because they're remote and difficult to reach. They're not hidden on purpose necessarily. They're just so isolated, so disconnected from the main flow of modern life that knowledge about them doesn't spread. A family in Tokyo might go their entire life without ever hearing about a 1,000-year-old village where people still live in houses designed for monks and cultivate silkworms in cathedral-like attics. Well, the information exists, but it never reaches them. Our modern world is so big that we can be ignorant of incredible places even when they're technically public knowledge. Then there are places like Kuba Pedy that are hidden because they're so unusual that most people simply can't fathom them as real. An entire town living underground. It sounds like science fiction, so even when people do hear about it, they often dismiss it or forget about it immediately because it doesn't fit into their mental model of how cities work. Our brains struggle with things that are too far outside the norm, so we kind of mentally file them away as curiosities rather than real, significant places. The Romanian salt mine theme park is perhaps the most metaphorically interesting of all. Here's an ancient space. Oh, a place of hard labor where people once worked in darkness for survival, and it's been transformed into a place of joy and recreation. A Ferris wheel inside a medieval salt mine. It's almost poetic in its incongruity. It suggests that even the most serious, the most historical, the most solemn places can be reimagined and repurposed. Sometimes hiding something old means bringing something new to life in its place. What these 10 locations have in common is that they challenge our assumption that we know the world. We think we know our cities. We think we've explored everywhere accessible. We think that if something significant existed, we would definitely know about it. But these places prove that assumption wrong. There are entire libraries hidden in the Sahara. There are entire underground civilizations. There are secret train stations, disappearing beaches, hidden command centers, underground gardens, and theme parks carved into the earth. And here's what really keeps me up at night about all of this. If we don't know about these places, despite them being in some cases extremely significant or famous within their local communities, what else don't we know? What other hidden locations are out there? How many secret places exist that nobody has ever documented? How many old mines or caves or abandoned buildings contain things we have no idea about? The world is simultaneously smaller and vastly larger than we think it is. This is why exploration and curiosity matter so much. These places didn't appear on the map because people sat around waiting for someone else to discover them. They were found by people who asked questions. You who wandered off the beaten path, who talked to locals, who investigated the unusual, who refused to accept that they knew everything about a place. Every single one of these locations is now known because someone decided to look deeper, dig further, explore more thoroughly than the average person. If you're watching this, you have the same capability. Your city, your town, your neighborhood probably has its own hidden secrets. Maybe not something as dramatic as an underground theme park or a secret train station, but something. A forgotten building, an old tunnel system, a local story nobody talks about anymore, a place that time forgot. Your job, if you're interested, is to be curious about it. Ask your grandparents, talk to longtime locals, research your area's history, look at old maps, wander around with a camera and an open mind. You might surprise yourself with what you find. The world rewards the curious. These places didn't hide themselves. They were hidden by geography, by time, by circumstance, by choices made long ago. But they're still there, waiting for people interested enough to find them. And honestly, that's one of the most beautiful things about our planet. No matter how well mapped, how well documented, how well traveled a place seems, there are always still mysteries. There are always still hidden things waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this exploration of the world's best-kept secrets and you want to keep discovering more incredible hidden places, subscribe right now. We're constantly diving into forgotten locations, mysterious structures, and places that most people never even knew existed. We'll leave a comment below telling us if you've ever stumbled upon a hidden place in your own area. I genuinely want to hear about the secret spots you've found. Hit that bell notification so you never miss when we upload new videos exploring the hidden corners of our planet. And thanks so much for watching. It really means a lot that you spent this time with us diving into these incredible locations. I'll see you in the next one.